number you have dialed has been changed.
Fickle my heart and now losing my eyes. I struggle to find any truth in your lies. And now my heart stumbles on things I don't know. The weakness I feel is finally shown. When in your eyes I can change what you see. But your soul you must keep totally free.
It Nefarious will be a series of episodes. In these episodes, we will attempt to take a look at both sides of the story of various nefarious topics. These exercises are presented for you to have the opportunity to hone your own discernment, take what resonates, and leave the rest. These will be exercises in big thinking, some mental yoga, if you will. And with that, let's begin. Is it nefarious? I've had what I guess is a unique life experience. I was transplanted when I was a very young child from suburban living into what was then the middle of nowhere in the rolling hills of the Appalachians on a small farm. This farm and these hills became my babysitter and my companion. My siblings were too much older than me to be companions, and I was the youngest in the family. There were no computers, no television reception. The only TV that we had were from some of the local stations, and the best one that you could get, you could hear the sound, but the picture was about 3 or 4 images of the same thing. No amount of standing on the roof, turning the antenna this way or that way when your dad was yelling at you would have improved the situation at all. I had a radio and I had books. I was gifted every little girl's dream when I was 9 years old, when my parents drug me outside one morning and showed me a horse standing out in our pasture. And they said, "This is yours." Well, that was it for me and my career in the house, because I was never there. I was always with this horse. And she became my nanny. She was an old brood mare. She was pretty patient. I don't guess I was too much of a bother. I was too small to pick up a saddle, and I didn't really like the idea of having a bit in a horse's mouth. So I'd tie a piece of baling wire to her halter and drag her up against a fence and crawl up on her back. And there I would stay all day long. She'd just go about her business, didn't really even notice that I was there. So some people were raised by wolves, but I was raised by a horse. And she taught me to speak her language. But it wasn't the language of just a horse. What she showed me is that everything in nature has a complex and intercommunicative messaging system. What I'm saying is that all animals speak the same language. Any farm is a perfect example of this. The dog and the goat and the chicken and the duck and the horse and the cow are all interacting with each other through a messaging system that doesn't consist of any words. It is through some sort of physical communication, through visual and audio cues. They have just as many signals as we have words. A lip snarl, an ear position, feet are doing this or that, a body movement this way or that way. Body language is a language that they take seriously, and they use it to speak to each other consciously. Now, a human body language expert would tell you that the things that we do with our bodies are expressing a subconscious language. One can even go so far as to hire a coach to teach you how to use body language subconsciously to manipulate other people. If you were nefarious, of course. It's our lack of the use of body language to communicate that is the odd thing here. We have become so completely reliant on these noises that we make with our mouths that we no longer even see what is right in front of us, what other people's bodies are saying, what all the animals around us are saying. Which brings me back to me and my talking horse. Try as I might, I couldn't learn her language. Well, I couldn't learn to speak it. I learned fast when she was telling me no and when it was okay. But I always ended up relying on my voice to have to communicate with the animals. And I never really stopped thinking about that. It was the one thing that made us different, humans and animals. So much so that I grew up and spent my higher education in anthropology, sociology, archaeology, history. The great mystery of the human being is something that absolutely fascinates me. And it's a fascinating topic because the more you look at it, the less sense it makes. The more you contemplate the probabilities, the more absurd the likelihood becomes. And spoken language is probably one of our most fundamental differences from everything else on this planet. Is the advent of the spoken word nefarious? Is the spoken word simply an evolution of a monkey becoming something that could vocalize in meaningful and constructive ways that communicate with each other? But wait a minute. I mean, all species do that. I mean, ducks understand ducks, dolphins understand dolphins, so humans understanding another human doesn't really make us special. What does seem to make us unique in the animal kingdom is that we seem to have a lack of awareness of a universal spoken language, body language, quote unquote, that all other animals on this planet speak. Now, another thing that I would like to point out here that is related but isn't related, another thing that we have different from all of the animal kingdom is that animals are always existing in the present moment. Our lack of awareness of these two things are something that truly defines us as human, defines us as something separate from the animal kingdom, defines us as something that is in an unnatural state. So in this unnatural state, we have plenty of evidence that humans, are perfectly capable of using and manipulating language and the spoken word to do nefarious things. That's a point that I need not bother to argue. Now, on the other hand, we have absolutely zero evidence of any sort of nefarious tampering with the advent or use of language as a means to control a population, other than the absurdity of the probability that there would be a hairless, talking ape running around wearing a business suit in the year 2023. But rest assured, there is nothing odd about that. And I thought maybe we would slip down to Nefarious Incorporated and sneak down the hall and see if we couldn't get in on some info.
Alright, donuts and coffee in the back. I motion that we begin the meeting for Terraforming Earth Think Tank now.
All right, I second that motion, and let's begin. Jim, you have that presentation. If you want to go ahead and share your screen.
Yes, here we go. I propose we just launch ourselves down there and take it over.
I don't know about that, Jim. We don't have arms and legs. Besides, that place isn't suitable for life. It's full of fresh air and clean water. It just makes me sick thinking about it. We're here to find a way to jump the place up. Ew, will you make a to-do list, please? First item, make a body with arms and legs.
Roger that, sir. Make some
Fred,
bodies.
what you got?
Right. I propose we build some sort of pod or something and get in it when we finally have bodies and plop it down amongst them. When they get curious and come close, we jump out and grab them.
Oh, great, Fred. We catch what? Maybe 3 at most? The rest run off and get their friends and we're toast.
Well, alright, there's that. But what if we jump out and tell them we're from the future or something?
They're telepathic, to at least you forget that point. They'll rub us out for lying right off the bat.
There's that
Yeah.
too.
Alright, anybody, anything at all?
Well, I think having physical bodies ourselves could be a disadvantage down there. I mean, if they can't tell we are there, it would be far easier to trick them into doing what we want. What we need is to find a way to get them to invite us in and do our bidding. It sucks working and getting dirty. Let them do it for us, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, I see your angle on that. We really need to solve this telepathy problem first. We can't trick them if they know we are lying, so we should change what is true.
Oh, that's
Well
brilliant.
If they think we are telling the truth and they believe it, they will simply manifest what we tell them to for us. Eve, strike make bodies from that list and add screw up their telepathy.
Got it. Strike, make
This is simple.
bodies.
We tinker a bit with their intuition, just the right balance, turn it down a bit, add some distortion, a dab of feedback, and voila, presto, we have an instant bot. I love it. Just ready to be programmed. Let's see. We need some sort of a filter,
A governor, something like this. We can just simply install this gate if it's going to modify the information coming from source, and we can just distort it into whatever sort of output we want. We could even implant our voice in the transmission, a consciousness that argues our point for us.
Yes, this is excellent. Eve, strike, screw up their telepathy from the list and add build a transistor.
Right. Scratch, screw up.
Very good then.
Demo.
We get the transistor into production, and then the next point of issue will be how are we going to get them to take it from us? How do we get them to willingly accept it?
Well, maybe Jim was right after all. Maybe we just go down there and offer it to them to eat.